I know this, that her unique email arrangement is interfering with our ability to find out what happened to the 4 murdered Americans in Benghazi. But in terms of whether or not crimes were committed, we have the premier law enforcement agency in the world, which is the FBI. And we have career prosecutors at the Department of Justice that are going to be able to answer those questions. And you don't need a washed up former prosecutor weighing in on that.
All right, folks, welcome back. Malzberg panel time. Noah Rothman is with us, assistant online editor at Commentary Magazine, and Hank Sheinkopf, president of Sheinkopf Communications, Democratic political consultant, and Newsmax contributor. All right, gentlemen, and I start with you, Hank, because you and I have discussed Hillary, I would say, at length or ad nauseum. I think we've mentioned her name once or twice. We had Congressman Mike Pompeo of the Benghazi Select Committee on earlier. Big fan of hers. Earlier in the show, and he said October 22nd, if I have my date right, under oath, Hillary will appear before that committee for all of us to see. How on earth is she going to go under oath and answer questions about the email and the Benghazi and why don't we have this and what did you do? How is she all of a sudden going to start telling the truth?
Well, wait a second. You presume that there's a lie to be told. Let's back it up.
Oh, come on.
I do not believe for 30 seconds, nor should anyone else, that Joe and Jane America are sitting out there saying, did Hillary take the server or not? That's not the question. And putting her before the cameras may not be the way to resolve it either from a partisan perspective. The facts are you're going to let the FBI do its job. Comey, the director of the FBI, is a serious person who is there for a reason. He knows what he's doing, and you know what? Whatever the facts are will be the facts, but to hang her beforehand is just not correct.
Hang her? Noah, she said she was willing to come. They're calling her to come, and now we have all these. But seriously, as Hank is talking, I just had a little bit of a nightmare. I will not answer these questions while there's an ongoing investigation. How about that? And how will she look if she says that?
Terrible, and she's looked terrible throughout the course of this process. Her spin on this issue is, well, I voluntarily surrendered, though that the FBI wouldn't be dangling an obstruction of justice charge if she had not. She could have given this to a third-party investigator at any time. That's what the Benghazi committee wanted her to do. The fact that she did not do that makes her look terrible, and her trust ratings have plummeted as a result. To say these things aren't correlated is just detached from reality.
Yeah, I mean, Hank, whether or not Mr. and Mrs. America are sitting there saying, did she take the server, the fact of the matter is, this is Hillary Clinton. Everybody knows Hillary Clinton. And the polls show that America, poll after poll after poll, doesn't trust her and doesn't like her. Why not?
Malzberg, my man, chill for a second. On this program, on this very program, I told you months back that there was a reasonable possibility that she would not be the nominee. Yes or no?
Yes.
I said that from the beginning. There is a larger issue involved here. She looks bad, and she's acting badly, and the public relations group that is advising her needs to have their licenses pulled, and the legal issues are very significant. Why should she be required to waive her Fifth Amendment rights at a non-prosecutorial proceeding which is in front of the Congress? I don't understand that. Why would anybody do that?
Well, wait, so I'm confused. So you're saying that you would advise her to sit before the committee and say,
that's not what I'm saying to you. What I'm saying is, why should she be required to be to have a different set of law placed upon her because people don't like her? I mean, I think that's not fair.
So tell me
either.
what you're saying. Are you saying that she should take the fifth at the hearing? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that it's not fair from the get-go. You don't in this country. We don't require people to testify against themselves. That's a different issue. And the timing of this is certainly suspect.
Well, but the time, this committee date, Noah, was talked about for a long, long time. First it was going to be September. I think this date was solidified way before, way being days or weeks before these latest revelations. So this is kind of separate and apart and relates to Benghazi. So I'm still don't know if Hank is saying he would advise Hillary to take the fifth. But Noah, if she's anything but totally forthcoming or appears to be anything but totally forthcoming, I mean, that's the end of her.
Yeah, I think Hank touched on something actually that's probably quite accurate, although I would dispute his characterization. Hillary Clinton does have a special set of privileges. If anybody had deliberately, and there is deliberate intent involved in moving one set of classified information over to a non-class server, these two things are very distinct, different set of hardwares. In order to do that, if you had done that, the FBI would burst into your door, raid your home, seize your material, and put you in handcuffs. That's what the kind of privilege that Hillary Clinton is perhaps due, because she's a federal official and she's also the Democratic Party's likely standard bearer, and she should face due process. But that kind of due process that other people would face has been a little bit, I think, massaged in order to defer to her stature. So she does have a different set of circumstances, and quite frankly, they're quite favorable.
Well, this would not be the first person of power or station in life in this country who was given, if you're correct, those kinds of privileges, frankly, number one. Number two, let's see what the evidence shows. We don't know yet, and I just think there's something very wrong about being partisan when it comes to justice. I don't like it when the Republicans do it, and I don't like it when the Democrats do it. Is she in trouble is the real question. She's in trouble because people are hearing things that they can't put into some context. And while that's going on, her numbers are going to continue to plummet. The political system's in trouble. Overall, Bernie Sanders is in the mid-20s. Donald Trump is in the mid-20s. It tells you something about how people are feeling.
But Bernie said, well, I mean, we don't have time. We'll get into Bernie Sanders in a second. But you've told me about, you know, the backlash. Like, all Hillary has to do is sit there and reap the benefits. Do you think if she appears to be, even with all that's going on now, if she appears that she's being badgered at these hearings, it'll backfire on the Republicans, Hank?
Yes, I do. I've said that on the
show. But you still think that?
Still believe that. Because
everything else.
Let's go back. She is handling this from a PR perspective very badly. If you watch her appearances, she's not talking to reporters directly. She's looking terrible to the camera. She's not dealing with those are the mechanics of being a public figure. Obviously, something's not working. People are picking that up. Simple.
All right. We have a lot more to talk about when we come back with part 2 with Hank and with Noah. And the name is Trump. Donald Trump, the man who will be on this show tomorrow. And we're going to talk about him when we come back. Don't go away.
We have a leader who is so incompetent and so out of touch, and I'm sure he's telling this gentleman what to say, and probably the guy doesn't know how to justify it, so he just talks in riddles. We should stop the flights to and from West Africa until that whole thing dissipates in some form, because it is crazy. And then you have us sending 4,000 soldiers. These are innocent young people that are going over there that aren't trained and aren't properly equipped. And they're going over to fight an enemy called Ebola. They know nothing about it. 2 weeks ago, they never heard the name Ebola.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. That was Donald Trump with me on this show back in October, outspoken as ever. And tomorrow on this show, we will have an exclusive interview with Donald Trump. Do not miss it. Okay, the Malzberg panel, Noah Rothman is back, as is Hank Sheinkopf. All right, let me ask you, Noah, since I started with Hank in the previous segment, where do you think Donald Trump is heading? I mean, you know, we get so many different opinions from so many different people, but, you know, since the Fox debate and the Megyn Kelly comments and everything else that's come out, very little movement downward. In fact, he solidified himself in just about all the polls that have come out since. So do you see this continuing, or do you see that there's going to be a critical point where either he, you know, keeps going or starts sinking?
Well, I think we can all agree that his movement in the polls has very little to do with what Donald Trump does or says. Whether or not he goes up or down, it seems to have very little basis on his actual actions as a candidate, or even his interactions with other candidates or individuals like Fox News hosts and moderators, for example. It's very much untethered to other external factors. So I would suggest, and I think possibly, that if you see some substantial movement in the Democratic race to the point where that becomes interesting for the press, for example, Bernie Sanders' surge becomes very real. He starts to lead Hillary Clinton in Iowa. Joe Biden gets in, begins to bifurcate Hillary Clinton's support. If that begins to suck up more oxygen and the Donald Trump shtick wears off, becomes thin, and the press starts to not focus on it as much as they have been over the past 2-3 weeks, that might affect his standing. Otherwise, I don't know what could possibly do it at this point.
Hank?
News is news. Man bites dog news. Dog bites man not. Donald Trump is news because he's different. He's saying things that people don't say in forums where they absolutely don't say them, and he's taking on the authority figures within his chosen Republican Party. It's not insignificant. He is the populist right candidate and the populist left candidate thus far this cycle is one Bernie Sanders. Both anti-establishment, both against the ruling class, for lack of better terminology, and both attacking politics as they see going on as usual.
And, you know, you talk about the anti-establishment. When you add up Fiorina and Carson and Trump, you have a significant chunk of the voting, the polled American public, Noah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also have a substantial number of voters who are more on the establishmentarian side. If you were to vote or add together your Kasichs and your Jeb Bushes and Marco Rubios. And so, I mean, you really have two wings, and they are two very distinct wings. They're just all very much split up and factionalized over the course of the 17 candidates. So it looks a lot smaller than it is, but these are two really diametrically opposed wings of the Republican Party that have been in opposition for the better part of the last, I would say, 16 years, both the Bush and the Obama eras.
All right, Hank, Joe Biden. It appears more and more likely, to me, but listening to the press reports and seeing the movement there and what you hear from the people who supposedly know, they're not like you do know, is Joe Biden going to get in, and does this Hillary trouble make him more likely to, in fact, get in?
The Obama part of the Democratic Party candidate was never Hillary Clinton. It was always Martin O'Malley, and Martin O'Malley didn't reach the moment. Jim Webb is not going anyplace. Joe Biden is the guy that the establishment within the Democratic Party will rally behind, and if it gets to that point and those emails become public, and more of them are public, and more of them are difficult, and her numbers start to drop in a very significant fashion, Joe Biden
But
has
how
a real
long
shot.
could he wait? How long could this take? I mean, you're making it sound like this could take months and months and months.
Well,
Would it be too late then?
The issue is a different one. How long does it take to raise the money you need?
Got
now,
right.
if the President of the United States is saying raise the money, he'll raise the money.
Okay, Noah, 30 seconds.
If the only person who can stop Hillary Clinton is Hillary Clinton. For 4 years, the field has been cleared. She owns the organizational process in all of these early states. She's the one who would have to unravel it. I don't think Joe Biden can get in, and then even with pressure from the president to simply undo all that momentum, Hillary Clinton would have to choose to dismantle her operation.
All right, gentlemen, fascinating conversation. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Hank. Appreciate it very, very much. All right, folks, we're coming back with the president of Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton. But first, Donald Trump, that's who we're talking about. He's still up there in the polls. He'll be on this show tomorrow, and he has made famous his cap, the Donald's cap that says Make America Great Again. Now, you could get your very own Make America Great Again cap, a $25 value. It's free with this offer. Just pay shipping and handling. Go to newsmax.com/TrumpCap or call 1-800-485-4350, newsmax.com/TrumpCap.